everyone, Tom here, Battle Rap Resume, back with yet another classic event rewind. This is day 2 of World Domination 2, King of the Dots World Domination 2. Go back if you want all the day 1 battles on the previous episode with Jonathan Rimmer, who's my co-host today again. John, how's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
I'm good. I'm just going to get some horrific housekeeping out the way. At Battle Rap Resume, get in touch with me, battleresume@gmail.com. We've got the Patreon, we've got the iTunes, subscribe, comment, and let us know, what are your favourite World Dom 2 moments in the comments below, or get at me, or all those different avenues. But, yeah, we're going through all these battles, so we've sort of done a bit of context of what World Dom 2 is and all that sort of stuff in the previous battle. So we're going to jump straight in to CL versus D Meitz.
Direction! New shot every 3 to 5 seconds, watch your angle of attack. I cut your sequences short, run your credits, that bright lights fade into a black. Yeah, killer instinct. You feel a distinct difference when you see our reactions. See, there's a method to my madness. You just method act.
And now for the reason for everyone being here this evening. The most anticipated battle of the weekend.
Now, I remember D Meitz because I had Jolly J on the show, and they battled at one of the sort of early Brixton Jam events. And he's an interesting dude, isn't he? On the surface, he's kind of a preppy, post-Tricky P multi-basher, but he was in the Marines, or is it like the Army or something?
I would not have clocked that, to be
Yeah, he mentioned
honest,
it in the interview, I think, and he certainly mentioned in the Jolly J interview. And he battles CL, who's one of those guys that's like, early King of the Dot guy, it's like Monster Under the Bed or something for Don't Flop. It's like only people in the know will know, who CL is. How is this battle for you?
It's okay. I think almost, to be honest, day 2, I should probably say, is like one of my favourite days of battle rap. If I wouldn't have split it between days until I looked at it, obviously, just because obviously I didn't go to the event. But yeah, I think there's so many good battles this day on day 2, and I feel like this is probably, unsurprisingly, not one of the better ones, just because it's bottom of the card, and I think it was a last minute sort of thing. D Meitz, yeah, he's like an old school grind time dude. Yeah. These days, he's mostly battles on No Coast, which maybe fits his image a little bit better.
Yeah.
And CL's from Montreal, which always made me wonder. I think there's a league called Word Up or something where they actually do French in battles, but I don't know if he's bilingual or whatever. Okay. But yeah, I think in this one, in the judging, so CL wins. I think D Meitz basically gets called out by 24/7 in a nice kind of way, and then by Marv1 and Soulcan and LS, sort of nice way about it. Basically, he's fishing to the crowd for reaction because he was really getting slept on, but he was worrying about catering to the crowd too much, and he takes it graciously, to be fair. So all's well that ends well. Maybe he took it through to his No Coast battles, and now he's incredible. Who knows? But
maybe.
But at the time, I think CL has a couple of cool kind of lines. He says, "This little clown's from Ohio, a little town called Fucked If I Know," which I thought was quite funny. Yeah. He had the bit about he always wears that bow tie, nobody knows why. Just little kind of one-liners I kind of liked.
Sure.
I don't know, I feel like... and he also said something like, you went to war so you're kind of brave, but you rep the United States, which means your mind's enslaved, that sounded like it was starting to go into something really, really good, but he kind of goes away from it. So yeah, there was hints from CL that he had some real shit, do you know what I mean? I think he wins almost by D Meitz's kind of lack of punchlines and not really doing it. The best thing D Meitz does is his ad-libs, which are better than his bars. He says, "Put that fucking mirror up," and he says, what else does he say? He just, at the end of his rounds and stuff, he just sort of calls out stuff and talks nonsense. But yeah, I was expecting a kind of like Carter Deems type character with his little bow tie, but he actually really sort of tries to go in quite hard and doesn't really work. But
No. But I mean, these are these intro battles by nature. They're a little disposable, and there's a hell of a lot of battles that we're going to get into today, and somehow, in making all the notes, I accidentally missed out this battle, John, so I haven't seen Dose versus 24/7. Give us a play-by-play.
Danik set you up with Bender, so he prepared your fate. And it's fair to say he scared you straight. You were over your head, should have seen your embarrassed face, but the truth came out when the camera's on 24 like surveillance tapes. Yeah. And you probably the type of fag to say swag, right? Well, motherfucker, don't mess with mine. When it comes to battles, I'm content with lines. One of the best around. fuck this battle, I got sketch in mind. Well, this...
You see, I had a couple losing rounds, but I'm back up on my ruthless style. I gotta show y'all just what it is exactly that I do to clowns. I will go elbow deep in your bitch, get a hold of them fallopians and pull them out, and then walk up into the crowd and start passing tubes around like a hookah lounge.
Oh man. Okay, so for me, along with it, well, so far we said, on the last episode we said Ilmac Bender, Pat Stay, Marv 1, obviously the first two real classics from the event. I suppose this one was the first real classic from day 2. I would say more so for 24/7's performance, but Dose very, very controversially gets the decision. And this battle, I think, has got more dislikes than likes, and I would assume it's primarily down to that.
Sure.
Dose isn't bad, and I can see why the judges like him, because he's consistent. He comes out with, I don't know, he starts with kind of maths equations, which is really obvious with 24/7, blah blah blah. Going from a Bender to a Dose like rehab programs, that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But he's kind of shitting on himself because he's saying that that's why he's lower down the card.
Yeah.
And then 24/7's writing's really, really tight. He says, I don't need a higher education to provide an explanation as to why this featherweight is going to die for testing greatness, which is just slick as hell. And then he kind of, obviously that's that kind of Bender flow. He kind of comes out and he says, I'm just proving he can still make statements when he rhymes with Bender's cadence, that's pretty nice as well. I don't know, and then Dose kind of comes out with all this sort of stuff he says about 24/7 being losing to fat people, and he never gets to eat, homie.
Right.
I don't know, all this sort of stuff, you know what I mean? It's a bit cheap compared to 24/7's stuff. You'll know when you watch it, but it's like, I mean, 24/7 has this line where he basically says, not only does he sound like Eric Cartman, but he also Eric Cartman, but he also hangs out, I can't remember what the rhyme is, but he also says he hangs out with kids, hermaphrodites, and one black guy. Dose then flips it and says, my black guy is bigger and darker than yours,
right.
Which gets a huge reaction.
Canadians.
Even though if I was Dose's token black friend, I'd slap him for being used as a patronising racist prop.
Right.
But yeah, I don't see how anyone can really argue that Dose wins this. I mean, some of 24/7 stuff. He also says he basically goes on him for copying Arcane style, and he says when you didn't rap like him, no one listened before. He's like Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man, had to use another man's vision for you to get through the door. I mean, that's so good. And then what else he says? I shouldn't have to explain why this rapper is lame. How ironic, all he does is wear Echo, and everything he says sounds exactly like the same. Like,
fine.
For me, 24/7 was already 2 up by that point. And Dose, you could argue gets the third one. That's the round where 24/7 says he's like a bike rack, which is obviously taken apart in his Osa battle. He says, I'm like a bike rack, blah, 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 which is another amazing battle. 24/7 Osa is a classic, slept on classic, folks should check out. But yeah, this is one of the only times I will say Solcan in the judging, you got it wrong, man. I'm sorry. Like, 24/7 looks like he really takes it to heart as well. He thinks he won that one. And it's a shame because I think this is a really, really good battle, one of 24/7's all-time greats. And I would say he's one of the most underrated battles going, I think.
Yeah, him versus was very good at Blackout 5.
Yeah, people didn't expect him to win that, and I was like, do you know what, you should never sleep on 24/7. He's such a talented guy. His music's quite good as well, and I just think if this battle had been judged correctly, he maybe would have battled a bit more often, because he seems on such a low point after this, and he wasn't sure about battling after that for a while. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those, it's a disappointing decision. Maybe it's because Dose was based in Ontario or whatever, but I don't know. He didn't deserve that.
We get to Diz versus SMP, who I didn't know who the hell SMP was, to be honest with you, and I think a lot of people were kind of, quite befuddled at the fact that he was battling Diz. I think Diz was supposed to battle Holohan, but Holohan, couldn't come out, whatever like that, and Diz ends up battling him.
I know you act like fat jokes
are not creative and y'all want to be like I'm all offensive, he gonna take the fat joke because he's not gonna not defend it. Because he's gonna sit here and man up and deal with the consequences because no one in this crowd forced you to treat your body reckless. It's not my fault you look like a fucking mom that's pregnant. You catch him scrapping in the streets, it's garbage night. I got street cred and assets, so if I get shot in a slammer, I'm going into that sentence with capital, like proper grammar. I'm like James Gandolfini. Y'all can see he hardcore. I'll take your bars and shut them down like Lamborghini car doors.
And it's essentially Diz just doing fat jokes. But I think I think SMP sort of holds his own, and it's quite an entertaining little watch.
It is. I think SMP's pretty good. I can't say it motivated me to watch many of his other battles, but to be fair, SMP says he admits he doesn't really deserve the battle in the intro. He's doing it because some money was put up. He's covering for Holohan, so shout out to him. That's a cool move. I think Diz v Holohan is obviously a more obvious battle. I mean, to be honest, as much as like fat jokes seem really sort of cheesy and not very good, Diz is really, really funny.
Oh yeah.
He starts and goes, you know what rhymes with fat people? Fat people. And he says you got bodied by your pasta recipes. And then the best one, he goes, the last time you went to New York, the Ghostbusters attacked you.
Yeah. Last time I went to New York, I took the torch from the statue. Last time you went to New York, the Ghostbusters tried to attack you. He calls him a fat fucking human Shrek. And when he says human Shrek, you hear Avo like crack up as well.
And he rhymes exercise with sex with pies.
Sex with pies, yeah.
And he says you look like Bubba Sparks crossed with Precious. Which is just incredible. And then he eats a sandwich in front of him.
Yeah. He asks him to smell it as well. He tries to tempt him with it. People in the crowd, dares him to touch it. And, SMP's all right. He sort of has connections in the West Side and, pack up all the shit on a flight in the bags under your eyes, which, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't advocate fat shaming, but when it's in a battle and SMP's rolling with it, he just embraces it. It's really funny. And he says, he does try and flip it, doesn't he? He goes, there's no way you're eating my food. Which is like, that's pretty good. He's trying to throw it back. But I think Diz, even with his stumbles and stuff, he's just got such a control in this battle. He's so dominating. I think his SMP's main angle was his kind of Diz's eyebrows, which is a bit, I don't know. He says something like, he uses his eyebrows to stretch to George W. Bush being his president, even though Obama was president in 2011. So it just seems a bit of a reach. And then he's got quite a funny impression, and I know, I don't know, actually, I'd give SMP a second, actually, because I think Diz doesn't mix it up too much, but I just think he's got a delivery and charisma that SMP kind of lacks.
Definitely, and I think World Dom was a bit of a stomping ground for Diz. The Porich battle at WD3 was good, and then he battled Dumbfounded, of course. Well, when he was dressed as Dizaster against Sketch Menace, World Dom 5 as well. He always seems to sort of pull stuff out the bag here. And if you just want to see a sort of older era vintage Diz just sort of flexing out, you probably haven't seen Diz versus SMP, but give it a watch. I think people will dig it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good battle. It's in keeping with the vibe of the event. It's good crack. It's so that's very Scottish thing to say. It's good. It's a good laugh. I don't know. I think it's it's not the best back and forth necessarily. But I think everyone's really just enjoying it because it's funny. Also, Bishop Brigante thinks it's hilarious because he at least acts like he is in this battle. There's a lot of slapping and shouting from him. You should watch out for in this battle. It's another little feature of this one that I enjoyed. Yeah. But yeah.
So we move on. Diaz versus Protege.
Your rating's always worthless. What you're spitting isn't working. I take my L's and burn them. Now I'm picky with the verses. My delivery is perfect. What I'm thinking is for certain. Damn, you ugly on video, but hideous in person.
Yo, I've never heard a fucking accent worse when this guy flows. You're the wackest person I know. See, I couldn't decide if I think he's a retard spit guy, T-Dot's XI, or the Spanish version of Psycho. Yo.
We touched on this before in the first episode because Protege's there, you know, with the Flip Top sort of contingent here, and in the intro they talk about Flip Top being a massive thing, you know, huge hip hop movement. You know, Flip Top actually, we spoke about this in the Enigma episode that I did, not the British Enigma, the Filipino Enigma that we did on Battle Resume. I don't know if you knew this, John, but Flip Top was pretty much single-handedly responsible for getting monetization on YouTube in the Philippines. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, battle rap is like it must be something to do with their culture, because over here, the idea of battle rap being mainstream just doesn't really seem like it would really happen, just because of the nature of our culture. And I don't know, I think it's just something that, I don't know, the Daily Mail would be on it in weeks, wouldn't they? Like, I'd have to think it would never... Oh, the Diana bars, especially. Wouldn't yeah, they would, yeah. And the disgusting underbelly of the UK hip-hop. Oh my god, I can only imagine. And you know, it's cool to see Enigma co-hosting here. Diaz saying, you know, he's happy he isn't the foreigner this time. I've seen a few Diaz battles. He always seems to crop up as an opponent on this show, and I've never really warmed to the guy, to be honest with you. No. Sorry, Diaz. I'm sure he probably doesn't listen to this, but you don't do anything for me, I'm afraid. Yeah. He's got a very basic flow, and his bars are pretty average, and he delivers with a bit of conviction, I suppose. He's quite confident, but he doesn't really do very much except piss the Saurus off. So and if you're going to do that, like, you're not going to be particularly likable. No. If the goat pushes you, then you deserve to be pushed. That sounds like an indoctrinated thing to say, but you know, shout out Pete 2 times. You know, and Diaz has some decent technique in terms of speed. Has some eyebrow stuff as well, like Diz, lots of physical stuff. But yeah, nothing really that decent. And I like Protege does something that Enigma does in a lot of his battles, talking about Philippines in the context of where they're battling, like how Canadian healthcare's always got that cushion to fall onto, and, you know, trying to hop the border from mid-tier to top tier, and he gets some stuff off, and I think the crowd like him. Yeah, I think Protege's decent here. I'd say he was the better of the 2 Filipino battlers at this event anyway. Definitely, yeah. He's a bit monotone, but he actually sets up and punches, which Diaz doesn't really do. I don't know, he's got some stuff like hopping the border from mid-tier to top tier. Yeah. That's alright. Diaz's best line that I like that he said Bruno Mars caught that grenade and it blew up in his face. Yeah, not bad. There is a resemblance there. I mean, but he has the blow her before she sticks it in, like a Nintendo game. It's like everyone's heard that joke since primary school. Come on. The racy bars as well. The sort of race bars on both sides aren't great, but I think Protege, even the ones where he is a bit more cliched, he says something like, "Oh, sounds like you and the drums were playing hide and seek" on his music. I've heard that kind of thing before, but it's all right. Yeah. And maybe for that time, his stuff is just a little bit more witty than what Diaz has come with. He's very, very straight with his style and very sort of, you look like this and you're that. It's not particularly like, oh wow, that was really intelligent. No, you never come out feeling smarter after watching Diaz. That is true. That is damning but true. And I like how Protege says like William Burroughs when I grab the pen. It's like any time we hear any beat shit referenced, you know, it's always fire. Someone needs to drop some, you know, some Dean Mariotti in this bitch, but still, it's cool to hear William Burroughs mention Old Bull Lee there. And, a Protege wins, and just pretty unanimously, I feel. Because he calls out as well in his third, Diaz stealing lines from Dave Chappelle and Nas, and, you know, he takes he's obviously not stealing very good lines from Nas or Dave Chappelle, is he? Because I can't think of many good bars he's had. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, not the most memorable battle. Cool battle, the next battle. I have so much love for Henry Bowers. I think he's such a brilliant battler, and anyone that follows him on Instagram or Facebook, he seems like the greatest dad in the world. He's always doing cool projects with his kids, like with game consoles, and always just making stuff, and like he's really into his Nintendo as well. He really knows his history. Always doing long essays about games, and I've been trying to get him on the show for ages. Actually, he said that he wanted to do it, and then he won't respond. So you know, we'll try and get it in. Him versus Cheddar Cheese, John. And as far as your film career, it's not that I don't endorse it. I've just always been too scared to watch House of a Thousand Corpses.
What are you supposed to be? Some sort of Swedish Jamaican? That combination makes for some complicated communication. So choose a nation. Because when you say beer can, I can't tell if you're saying beer can or bacon.
I learned my English from Inspector Gadget. It was crazy fun. Now I speak the damn thing as if it's my native tongue. And the journey my battling's taken me on is an amazing one. But why the fuck does it have to include me battling Bobby from the Brady Bunch?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow Henry Bowers on Twitter, but he does, I noted down actually, he does seem like he'd be a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
even when he's being horrible to another person he's battling, he's almost like what a battle rapper should be. You know, he's a bit sort of, it's kind of in the same way that kind of Ogmios is one of my favourite battles from the UK, in that his stuff he says is really sort of hard hitting and cutting, but you get the vibe that he's really sound in real life. I feel like Henry Bowers is like that from a Swedish perspective, in that he's got a character that he plays to, he's having a bit of fun, but when he actually does battle, some of the stuff he says is pretty brutal. It's just, he delivers it in a way that you can't hate on him. He's just like, it's all good, it's Henry Bowers. Like as well, he doesn't even just diss cheddar cheese in this. He disses Organics Overbite, which is really good.
Yeah, critical from Base Mentalities there at the front, which is awesome. Cheddar cheese shouts out Nick Windsor and Avocado.
I was going to say quickly as well, sorry, do you not think Critical looks really spaced out in all of these battles? Like, he just doesn't really know where he is.
Man, like, you know, they aren't ready for it.
He's just like, oh, it's just amazing to be here. And he's like pure looking around. Like, I don't know what he's on, but yeah.
And Cheddar Cheese, what are your thoughts on him in general?
Yeah, I like Cheddar Cheese. I think he's really funny. Hollow the Don's favourite Canadian battle.
Right.
Apparently.
All right.
Which is a very weird thing to imagine, but there you go. I think Henry Bowers wins this one convincingly. Though.
Yes, yeah. Cheddar runs out of stuff to say quite early, doesn't really know what angles to take. Calls him a degenerate ZZ Top, you know, has some sort of nice flows here. And, you know, he talks about how, I think Bowers, it's not just what he says, it's his projection as well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
His voice like this, and, you know, it's very captivating.
Yeah, his voice is like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the opposite of mine. It's boomy. It's got a real sort of boom to it. But yeah, no, he's got like he has a line in it where he says he kind of, the way he words stuff is really, really witty as well. He says, what does Cheddar have that Henry doesn't have as an artist? Well, his virginity as an artist, which is really, really, really sick. And he also, I think, the best thing what Cheddar tries to do, he tries to sort of show off his rapping ability in the third, but then Bowers does the same. He kind of, maybe that's why they were matched up, the kind of combination of flow and comedy, and I just think as well that maybe Cheddar at this time, he was more comfortable than someone maybe like Charron was, because he imitates Charron as well, and sort of. But I don't feel like he progressed in the same way over time, maybe. And he just seems a bit complacent in this one. I think he's comfortable, but he's not. His writing isn't on the same level as Henry's is in this battle, I'd say. No.
You know, Bowers always has the great references. Talks of Canadians fracking up Battlestar Galactica. You know, shout out to the Cylons there. I'm a sawed-off shotgun. You're sort of not one. King of pimples and spots, put your face in a box, pizza delivery, which, you know, is definitely going to hit in that moment. And I just, Cheddar's cheesy tracks. He talks about my ears are now lactose intolerant. You know,
I've got to shout out one really bad line. Maybe I missed something here. Cheddar Cheese has a line where he says, "You're coming in second place. That's number 2, like the letter B." Right. I don't know if I missed something there. That's just really terrible.
No, I don't think you missed anything. You know, bless Cheddar. There's a little bit of filler. I mean, cheese is filler by nature, so you know he's going to do that. It's a 4-1 win to Henry, and as always, we close with promo kings, which gets advertised seemingly and all this sort of stuff. And you know, Henry sort of pulls out a flag. He's really happy with it, and yeah, it's a good battle. And I think just for Bowers, especially, it's a great advert for who he is as a battler.
Yeah, I think again he's another character that just fits the World Domination stage so well. If there's a World Cup of battling, he can come in, and some of my favourite battles on this day particularly go in. It's where the two battlers go in on each other's countries, and not just in sort of a really sort of obvious way. There's some quite witty sort of lines in there. I think I do think Chedda probably could have been a bit more creative with some of his Sweden stuff, but he's got better battles. I'm not hating on Chedda; he's good. But yeah, a convincing 3-0, I would say, for Henry Bowers here.
I would say so. And we pull into the next battle. Shazaam versus Tricky P.
I got a magic voice that'll make your lady's badge so moist she gonna be staring at my groin like land ahoy. Lady Mystique says I'm a beast like Hank McCoy. My boy Soul is in the back like that's my guy. Grand and boy.
You look like a pussy in your announcement blog. Who's your manager? I put Tricky P in the bag. Bender, that's a catheter. Reefer crew, right now I'm Sweden's ambassador, and I ain't coming back without a massacre. I will start hell on your official fan page. Tricky's fan base will have a Twitter rampage. Remix, because this is some hard shit to translate. Insert catchphrase.
Shazaam seems to be a bit of the butt of a joke, really. You know, not necessarily being the greatest battler. And I think Tricky just styles on him here. Like, Tricky P, like, had one of the most forceful personalities I've ever seen in battle rap. The guy is entrancing when he wants to be.
He is. I mean, thing is with Tricky P, he almost became a parody of himself after a while, because he almost felt like he'd built up this style so much that he had to stick to it really rigorously. And some of his more recent battles are a bit meh. Do you know what I mean?
The Marlowe battle was a bit meh, yeah.
But when he first came out, I think he was something new. He was quite exciting, and he's good with angles. He's always been good with angles, Tricky P. And I think on this one, he really, as you say, he just comes at Shazaam with quite creatively, and he's quite funny. And Shazaam just kind of doesn't really have anything in comparison to Henry Bowers, he's just not on the same wavelength, the same level. He doesn't really have the sort of dry humour that Nils has. Or, as in, when it comes to Scandinavian battles, I'm not huge. I don't really rate Shazaam too much.
No, not at all. You know, Tricky talks about finally made their way into the bottom of the flyer, and you know, Organic and Bishop are like his uncles, and Shazaam's that European relative you just stuck with for the summer, which is nice. Your girl will be so moist, staring at my groin like land ahoy. Which, you know, yeah, some really like funny times there. Shazaam just has sort of played out stuff like I came here to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum. It's like, is that your opener, really, guy? Like, you know, nothing gets too much reaction here.
Maybe that's funny in Sweden.
Maybe, probably hilarious, but here, you know, Tricky says that he had his own laughter track in the second. 2 rounds to nil, money in the Swiss bank. Which is great. I love his closer as well.
Yeah.
I just think Shazaam, he's there for the event and the vibe of the event. I mean, no offense to Shazaam, but even with the 2-on-2s he's done with Nils, it was always Nils doing the heavy lifting.
I get the impression guys like Henry Bowers and Nils can rap well in English and in their own languages. Shazaam can probably rap well and battle well in Swedish, but not in English, because his English doesn't come across as very good. And he does try and do an impression of Tricky P at one point, which is okay, but it just seems awkward because Chris Lees did the same thing and was better at it, I suppose. So I don't know, even his brighter moments didn't really hit with me. I mean, Tricky P does that really sort of corny kind of flow thing he does in the third, where he tries to be over-the-top musical, but he still won 3-0 convincingly.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, not too much to say on this battle, really. I think that, Tricky is just, overhypes himself in a good way. You know, he has fantastic presence and delivery. Boss around these north parts like Lord Stark, which I think was one of the first Game of Thrones bars I ever heard in battle rap. That sort of stuck out to me. Now it's overplayed to death. But back then, you know, it's pretty cool. I did a video, actually, Best Game of Thrones bars. Check that out on the Barrett Resume channel. That was a long time ago. I don't
know if I've listened to that one. Maybe I have.
Yeah, it's just like a 5-minute compilation. I don't really talk in it or anything. It's just kind of me finding the best ones out there.
I am a big Game of Thrones fan. I really like the Wire Bars one on the channel as well. Shout out.
Oh my god!
I actually hit you up, Tom, a while ago, and I was going to say, we should look at doing some sort of Wire podcast because we're both such sort of stans and fans of it. But there now is one, the Wire stripped. So
oh no, there's loads. There's
Wire
like,
fans check that one out.
Well, actually, no, Wire fans don't check that one out. Check out Caught on the Wire, which is done by my good friend Alex Cottrell and Toby Huntingford. I went to uni with those guys, and I introduced...
Check that one out as well.
Yeah. I introduced them to the Wire, and they're obsessed with it. And they finished now. They finished about 2 years ago, but they go for like 2.5 hours an episode. Like they went deep.
Nice.
And I was actually on one episode. I was on episode 10 of series 1. So quite a long time ago. That was my first proper podcasting thing. But yeah, check out Caught on the Wire. Alex actually did the theme tune to Battle Art Resume. The theme was him. So yeah, great guy. And
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, check it out, man. It's
huge Wire fan.
Oh my god, yeah, best show ever, right?
Yeah, all time.
Yeah,
I finished Breaking Bad recently, which people have obviously compared to it. Breaking Bad is a great show. For me, I was going to say it doesn't come close. It's not as good.
It doesn't come close. I love Breaking Bad. It doesn't even skirt the surface, because Breaking Bad's just one story through line. I think The Wire is just so brilliant from so many... Like, we're sounding so pretentious here, but I like the fact that it is novelistic, whereas Breaking Bad doesn't really have that. But Breaking Bad's, you know, top 5 shows ever. I think
The Wire is...
Sopranos is better than Breaking Bad,
social commentary on a whole new level.
Oh my god.
There's a book called The Inside Story of The Wire, which I bought recently, and I've just started reading, and the depth to which David Simon and... David Simon? And Ed Burns. That they go into or went into making The Wire. It's unbelievable, and for me it's genuinely like... In terms of like social commentary of the fall of the American Empire, as they call it, is just unbelievable. Anyways, this is not
one final Wire question. You know, if I can find out if we can truly be friends or not. What is your favorite season?
Season 4.
Yes. Correct choice. Yeah. Maybe 2 just after 4, but yeah. I know a lot of people don't like 2. A lot of people think
I love them all, even season 5, which people say is the weakest. But that's because I'm a journalist, so I identify with all the newsroom shit.
But it's like people are like, oh, season 5, it's unbelievable. It's like, no, season 3 is the unbelievable season. Like I don't think it's any more out of this world than what they're doing in Amsterdam than what Tony Soprano than what Dominic was doing. But whatever. Yeah. We can get onto that. Porich versus Oshea.
People said to me, I don't know if your mum jokes or your accents in Canada will work. I don't care. You look like every fucking character from the film Clerks. You stinking bastard. We've been paired together because of our drinking habits. You Canadians can't drink. You get drunk at the bar sign. And what you call game night, knobhead, we call half time, dickhead.
I'm missing the beer festival for this. You said you saw an elephant shagging? Proof you jerk off to the Animal Planet. Doesn't matter, whenever it's done, he didn't throw you out because the father always has respect for the son.
Talking about, classic masterpieces of Western culture. I love that this battle kicks off with a race to down a beer.
Yeah, it's a nice another little touch as well. Well, they just seem like they're having so much fun at World Dom too. It's just, for me, this is what a World Domination battle should be. Just 2 guys taking the piss out of each other's countries and their mannerisms and all that sort of shit. And it's just funny. And also, this is one where I feel like Oshea was really slept on. I think he wins this 3-0, to be honest. I don't know about you, but he wins the drinking contest and he wins the battle.
Yeah, definitely. I think Oshea's terrific here. I love the fact that he's rocking an Abbey Road tee as well. I think that's awesome. And Bishop shouts out Flight Distance again at the start. Porich has his dig deep in your bitch line, which not really not a fan of it. Like I think it's quite evocative, but it's slightly.
I like the Porich as a character. I think even if it's not the greatest character, I like that it's a character. I like King Ledot needs more of that shit. Even though I think he's a bit awkward in this, maybe a little bit. So I think he tries to sort of take the piss out of Oshea, and it's impossible to take the piss out of Oshea, at least in any way that's... at least if you're trying to fight fire with fire, you need to be a bit more creative, like in the way that sort of, I don't know, an Ogmios was, or Tony D maybe. But I don't know, I think O'Shea's the best, man. Other than the fact he's an Evertonian, I can't flaw him. he's the man, honestly. I think in this, and also a wee quick thing before we get into the battle as well. Our hosts this one, there's a comment under it that got loads of likes where people said back when Eurgh still looked likeable. It's a little. He seems like a really down-to-earth guy in World Dom 2. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I like how iconoclastic Oshea's here. You know, he literally goes in, fuck Canada, Drake watches King of the Dart, he's proper shit. You know, so many crabs, it's like Deadliest Catch and all this sort of what you call game night, not bed, we call half-time.
Yeah. Your missus looks like Bishop.
Yeah.
He says, I've seen some things you can never imagine. I've seen a donkey, a gorilla, and an elephant shagging.
And Porich kind of flips it. He's like, that proves you jerk off to the Animal Planet. At least he went for the flip. But, you know, I don't think it really has much weight there. And Porich's stuff is just kind of bland. Rockheads like Easter Island, heard that a million times.
Just sounds really angry in that first round as well. He's putting on this kind of voice, which he doesn't always do, but it just sounds a bit silly and it gives me a kind of sore throat just watching it. And then Oshea says, if you're good at ice hockey, you have to be good at ice skating, which I think by that point O'Shea's won.
Yeah, fantastic bar. And he sort of punctures a lot of Porich's stuff, because obviously you're facing a British guy, you just attack them on the most generic things, but he says, I don't give a fuck about Gryffindor, I've never looked up the cricket score.
O'Shea's from Liverpool, no one watches cricket.
Oh my god, no.
What are you on about, mate? And also he says, I'm Irish, you're British. He's called Oshea. He's as Irish as you are, mate. Come on. Like, I love just that Oshea just doesn't care at all. He just comes out, I'm Scouse like Barry Grant, like guy from Brookside.
Yeah. Like, no one's gonna get that. Exactly. Yeah.
Only people from like UK, and even then a limited amount of people.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky is shit, he says as well, which I like. He had a wank at the death of a Canadian when Owen Hart died. It's like, Christ, Osh.
That's I mean, I don't condone.
No, I don't condone masturbating.
Rip Owen Hart, man. What a guy.
Oh yeah. But yeah, Osh.
That's so funny though.
Like you know, there's been some real tragedies when our UK guys have gone over to King of the Dart. I'm thinking explicitly, you know, your Euphoricals, Pedro, Tony D is obviously the most famous one, and Osh could have went down in flames, but obviously he's the GOAT, he's the legend, and he 3-0s Porich. He nails it.
Yeah, I think. Did they judge this for Porich? I can't even remember. I don't know if I noted that down.
I don't think so. I don't think they did.
I don't know if they did, then it's a robbery. If not, Osh rightly won, to be honest. But yeah, no, I think there are battles where I've liked Porich. I just think something like this where he's trying too hard to be funny and outdo a comedian like Osh. Porich is better when he's the one who's been a bit of a clown versus like a Canadian barrer. Do you know what I mean? Or someone who's actually, I don't know, who's actually rapping at him, I suppose. Because he can play that character sometimes, but it's a bit weird to think he was King of the Dart champ though. Like,
yeah,
he's not really on the same level as a Pat Stay or a Diz, is he?
No, and he's still battling. You know, occasionally on different leagues here and there, Porich, but not in the big league anymore. And we get to a next match which I've never seen before us doing this episode. Watched this the other day. A weird matchup, this one, John. Arcane versus PH.
First, the Saurus outcome. I don't need lies or scandals to win battles. I'm good without one. I was on Immortal Techniques Peruvian Coke. That song holds weight. Arcane heard that song, made his own version for his own tape, but it was far from Peruvian dope. There was too much cut in that blow. That's how I know you definitely a snowflake.
In 2010, you was employee of the month at Lowe's Hardware. 2010 Grand Prix, I pulled an upset. Took home all of Lowe's Hardware. I went on to beat the Saurus. Took some hype from the West. Brought the chain back to Toronto where the title should rightfully rest.
Yeah. It's, do you know why this one's interesting? It's because I always liked PH in terms of some of his music and his features and stuff, because he pops up on a few things I've heard, and I think I've actually heard one of his albums back in the day, and I never thought he was that good at battling. I thought he lost to Eurgh pretty convincingly. It was like a clear Eurgh win. I think Definition beat him as well. I don't know what American battles I've seen him do as well, actually, but
beat him as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ursa. Yeah, but in this one, I think he actually wins this one pretty well, I would say. Thing is with Arcane, I feel like he's always been overrated by the King of the Dark kind of team, but underrated by everyone else.
Right.
That's the way I kind of feel about him. He's not like King of the Dark title good, which he had for a while, but he's not trash. Like, he's got quite decent writing when he's not Jack and Caustic, obviously, and he's like got a decent sort of delivery. He's quite a good sort of all rounder. But yeah, no, I don't know. I had PH on this one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I did have PH. I find Arcane an intriguing prospect. I think he's kind of bland, but kind of compelling to hate watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
sort
I
of,
get what you mean.
Former King of the Dot champion, the intro is spoken about, and PH talks about hip-hop not being as intense in America as the early 90s, a lot more groundwork they've got to do over there, and, you know, Arcane saying that PH is a real artist and that sort of stuff, and Arcane shouting out the 905, fuck Pesci, he says in the intro as well. All that PH says is Team Homie, and Arcane gets a lot of PH stuff here, you know, leaving flat out with a pumpernickel. Your boy Sarah Connor, a good dude as well, which is kind of an obvious punch there, but a few stumbles.
As well,
PH balance.
It's obvious stuff.
It is.
He says he looks like a fat Zorro.
Yeah, which is not bad. But it's just, again, I don't mind PH, but I don't think there's too much memorable stuff here. He talks about illuminated masons and 33 ranks and stuff.
Yeah, I think the way I see it is, so in the first round, I mean, Arcane kind of compares their level of writing and says, he's got that 2-syllable style that we wrote in 03. But to be fair, PH was on like Immortal Techniques album around that time. So if you're trying to sort of style and say, you're not on the same level, he actually does come back at him and says, I'm not trying to build with you what's he said? He said something like, I'll show Architect, which is all right. I feel like it's compared to the big UL guys. It's a bit basic.
It's been done a few times as well, that has.
But you know, I feel like when he comes back and he does a little bit more of the sort of stuff where he's saying, if we're comparing pedigrees, you know, I've been doing this a lot longer. One thing I didn't get, actually, was he said, I'm too dope. White smoke rise from your chimney like they elected a new pope, and everyone goes crazy. But is chimney a physical description? Because I've not heard of that. So,
no, I'm not sure. It's battle rap logic because you have to stretch it sometimes.
But yeah, no, I don't know. Arcane, he has some good stuff. He says, "Homie, you ain't hip hop. You're so old, your hip hop's and locks into place."
Yeah.
He thought "whip that there it is" was still a popular phrase. Yeah. That's quite nice. Yeah. And I don't know. And then PH says stuff like his incineration. He rhymes incineration with, "If Candy talk while I'm rapping, he'll catch more hooks than Christmas decorations," which is all right. But
yeah, there's a lot of all right stuff in here.
Now I'm going through this. Arcane does have maybe a few more standout bars.
Yeah.
I feel like PH was more consistent through the 3 rounds, maybe. He says something like, "Let me get a Canada map ASAP and rip Hamilton like the NBA player with the face mask." It's stuff that I feel like at the time was maybe a bit more hard hitting and a bit more sort of. PH just has more of he's got a stronger delivery in this one than Arcane does. Arcane kind of starts targeting other people, like he has a go with Charron. And he asks if he said, "Did you say I could talk to your dad on the phone or something?"
Yeah, that's good. And I think Arcane's third isn't bad. He has the hip-hop locks into place, which reminds me of Shuffle versus Soweto, where it's like, hip operation, son, you need a hip operation. And, you know, he talks about the grey hairs, been seeing Salt and Pepper since he was a roadie in 93 for Salt and Pepper, and eyes so close together he saves money on eye drops.
His eyes were really
close they were.
Yeah. Rip PH though, man.
Oh god, yeah.
Real legends, much like Bender, I think. A battler who actually had really great music and was really respected and liked by pretty much everybody, from what I can work out. So, I think this is one of his better battles, I'd say. Again, as a battler, I wasn't as huge a fan of him as I was his music, but I do think he wins this one, just because, again, whilst his lines aren't incredible, he had a consistency and he was comfortable, and his delivery was just he's got a conviction to his style, PH, that I always liked. So yeah, and also Definitions judging is pretty funny as well, and he tells PH that he loves him.
Yeah.
Which is a good precursor for their battle.
Yeah, and you know, PH does win. Yeah, he wins with the judging there. So, RIP, of course. Ness Lee versus Loe Pesci, John, is the next battle.
When you loaded that NPC with brakes, you knew them samples was such expensive heat, you got gassed up before you even had a sequence made. God damn, Ness Lee, those beats were flames. Now you gotta help the kid understand it. Your house burnt down, you got donations from rap music, and now you live in a mansion? I'm in need of an answer. I hope your fucking wifey cheats on you with an inferior rapper for stealing people's money online like a Nigerian banker.
Be happy for this geek. He's an insane great liar. Every time he see me, he asking for them beats. I said, so half the fans say I don't deserve this battle. The other half ask daily that I serve this asshole. So I purchased ammo. The purpose not to clap you just so it's heavier when I smack you with the burner handle.
Do you think that they match these two up for their names?
Potentially. What I find most interesting, about this battle is, and I don't know if even King Ladot led this through to full fruition, because it starts with a new contest called So You Think You Can Judge, which sounds like, you know, America's Next Top Model or something like that, where basically you've got to make a video blog to judge this battle. There's no judging on Ness Lee versus Loe Pesci, and Organic was saying it's part of a competition, and the best blog will be flown out and be an official judge at King Ladot. And like, let us know in the comments, did this happen? Does anyone, old school King Ladot fans, remember anyone sending in blogs and stuff like that? Because I didn't actually try and look for any, but I imagine there must be some.
Who won this? I don't know. They didn't come out and see. I think Ness Lee won this.
I think Ness Lee won this as well, yeah.
It's funny because he comes out and says, was it him that says it? He goes, half the fans saying Ness doesn't deserve this battle, which must say something about the 2011 or whatever, because Ness is a beast and really respected. So, he also, I mean, he raps so well as well. Ness he kind of places himself again against. He tries to get the crowd on board and says, "You're the heel of this rap shit, and you know what I do to those." Like he's kind of. I think Pesci kind of. He stumbles as well in the second. He's not really in that kind of pocket. Do you know what I mean? He's not getting the reaction that he often does, and. I know he flips it and says he suggests he only has sex with women that are as bad as his memory, which you know is as good as sort of self-deprecating kind of tactic. And again, I'm funny about the race bars that are as explicit as Pesci's, where he kind of says he's so dark his nickname was Art Vivian 1, right. Which I suppose Pesci's not a white dude, so he can get away with that maybe. But yeah, there's also a big reaction to letting emotions take over like Vancouver or something. I didn't get that one. Maybe that was a
was that some sort of riot? Yeah, sort of hockey riot maybe. They always seem to go crazy over there over that sort of stuff. I don't know. You know, let us know in the comments. And I didn't really feel this battle, to be honest with you. I like
bits of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think technically it's impressive, but none of it really stuck out to me. I mean, I quite like Ness in the first, put plasma on the wall with no speakers around it. And, you know, straight up just battle rapping, like purely rapping technique. It's kind of fun on that level. And there's stuff about Ness's house as well, burning down. And Loe's like, you know, here to let you say everything you wouldn't say to your landlord. And unfortunately, Loe has a choke, which he kind of always does, right?
Yeah, I think I get the vibe. He says at the end he was a bit disillusioned for this battle. And he wasn't that inspired to write for it. And he actually does say in the third, you know, a new league can go overboard, be professional and innovate. When it's let's just about everyone with vocal cords participate, which is nice. That's some nice writing that got slept on by Pesci. But you can tell that he's not feeling it too much in the same way that I think Ness Lee is so much. He's just so much more convincing and funnier in this. Like he has that bit where he says he didn't expect this to be going on YouTube. How can you expect us not to forget what you wrote? You do. And then he says the best choke joke ever, where he says, Michael Jordan jumps through the air and then forgets what he was doing there.
Yes, yeah, love that.
Which is really, really
That's
nice.
Great. That's great. Yeah. He has some good stuff. Yeah. He has a good final round, definitely. Putting hands on the baby like Anthony Casey, and we get sort of sorry player reinvention as well. It's not bad. I just think this is a really good day for battle rap, as we've seen, and we're going to see later on as well. Maybe this one, it just doesn't pop for me, John, I'm afraid.
It's not one of the best battles at the event, but I'd say the fact that this is not one of the poorer battles tells you how good this event was, because it's still pretty good, and there's still some great lines in it, and it's 2 heavyweights as well. I think they did match up people really, really well on this card, and it's a shame that Pesci doesn't really show out too much, because I think their styles do clash quite well. So yeah, no, it's a shame it didn't really pop this one, but Ness took it for me.
And before he was an acclaimed screenwriter, Kid Twist was a humble battle rapper, and him versus 360.
I get fucking anxious around couples if they look like twins. I nearly had a panic attack before because I seen his bitch and she looks like him. You listen to Cisco shit. You think the Panic at the Disco's sick. You got a dick so small it looks like an ingrown clit.
Oh! You're right. I do look like Howard Stern without the perm. Man, your rhymes are hard. So you can watch my movie on how I fuck your girl's private parts. And the Saurus said that Aussies sound like Brits, except less distinguished. I think you sound like when the mentally deficient attempt to speak English.
This is quite a big deal because Kid Twist hadn't battled for a little while here, and this is a really fun battle. Again, this is one that, to my shame, I just hadn't seen before for whatever reason, so making notes for this was really enjoyable. What are your thoughts on Kid Twist versus the Australian 360?
Yeah, I really like this battle. I suppose it's let down by 360's choke slightly.
Yeah.
I mean, 360 is a big deal in Australia, obviously. I think he does deserve this battle. His battle with Curse is really good, and his 2-on-2 with Justice against Saurus and Madness is good. And he's got some good music as well. I say that, I do think I've got a couple of Aussie mates who are into the hip-hop scene up here, and they were saying how 360 is a little bit more on the sort of mainstream generic side of what's going on in Australia, so he maybe isn't as underground as I thought he was. But he's got simple jokes, but he's quite funny and charismatic, and it works. Like, you know, stuff like a dick so small it looks like an ingrown clit, stuff like that. It's a bit, you know, obvious, but it's funny enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Kid Twist wins this though, just because he's at his best. I think he says that stuff about the Australian toilet. You know, your whole flow's backwards.
Crazy.
He rhymes kangaroos with angry moose, which is dope. And then he had, was it Kid Twist who says that stuff about the garage doors slowly lowering? That's a really funny image as well. And you don't have to ask how much your roommate can afford because your roommate's a Ford.
Yes, yeah. In his second, yeah, great.
That's so sick. But yeah, no. This is a good battle. I really do like 360. I think he's really funny. But I think Kid Twist. This is what he does well. It's just really simple, funny jokes.
Yeah, I think some of 360's gay stuff is a little dated. You know, his computerized thousands of Brokeback Mountain pictures, and you know, I don't know.
I mean, when you watch this now, it's just like homophobia. Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah.
I mean, Kid Twist has always been such an intelligent writer. He always seems to go a little bit further with bars. And I agree, the garage stuff is really funny and throwing around the awkward moment when the door is slowly going down. And then...
Yeah, that's the rhyme.
From a place where turf wars are played with Nerf swords and just another Australian dying in excess, which is fire. Neck tattoo.
Oh, yeah, dude. I didn't catch that. That's good.
Yeah.
In excess the band. Yeah.
R.I.P. Michael. Neck tattoo of Saturn, gold shape of a planet, but you put a ring on it.
Yeah,
I mean, Saturn ring bars are a bit, but still.
No, that's good though.
Yeah.
And at the end of this battle, you also get to hear Rone's Australian accent.
Yeah, he sort of infiltrates the interview. Yeah, and 360 seems a little pissed off and disappointed, which is a shame. He says he was prepping for ages, and he apologises. And that's the horrific thing about choke. You can be as ready as ever, and your brain will just decide that you're not, and you know nothing comes out, and you can't get it out. But this is a really good battle. I think Kid Twist. Every time I see him, I realise that he's one of my favourite battlers without him being one of my favourite battlers. Like, I just always really enjoy his writing. I think he's just fantastic at what he does.
Yeah, again, on a greater scale than Arcane, because I do like him, Kid Twist, more. He's one of these guys who I think is overrated in Canada, but underrated by everyone else. I think that's the best way I can put it. I think he can compete with anybody on his day. But I think I've watched quite a few battles where he's won controversially, or I felt like he's been a bit lucky. In this one, he wins, though. definitely.
Yeah, he definitely does. And shout out 360 as well. I don't think he's battled much after that. I think this is one of his last battles, actually. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just music took off. This is before his Curse of Battle that got like 2 million views or something though. So,
yeah, Curse is like the guy over there, right? He's like a huge battler. Yeah. You're right. The Curse of Battle on Grind Time Now Australia's got 2.6 mil. That was a little bit after. He also battled Dirtbag Dan over there. He battled Awkwards. But yeah, his last battle was against Awkwards. That was April 2012. So
I do really love the Aussie scene, to be honest, because to be honest, even before I got into the acapella stuff, it was my mate Rory, I think it was, back in the day. He was really into Sage Francis, and he put me onto the Scribble Jam battles. And one of the first battles I watched was Justice the Saurus, which is still one of my favourite battles of all time.
Oh, amazing!
And all the flips about him being Australian, and
a less distinguished version of an English person.
Yeah, it's so good. Justice is like, even though his music's not amazing, as a battler, he's so slept on. He's like one of the great freestylers, and yeah, that's one of my favorite battles. So when I saw that battle, it was years later. After I got into the written stuff, I actually saw that he battled again with 360, and then at this point, I knew the Saurus and Madness a little better. So that's such a great sort of treat of a battle. Yeah.
We get the perennially dazed, as you said, critical from Base Mentality battles here on the next clash. This is Nils versus Rone.
See, when I flow, it's an explosion like a firecracker. Plus, I came with that flame. I got that firecracker. And to prep for you, I wrote a couple jokes about Norway. Here's one. You're gay.
You had to do a line about the massacre, didn't you? I will not rebuttal it. I had a friend there. It's fucking too soon. Just had to get that one laugh, you little geek. That's just very, very low, like a Canadian toilet seat.
Nils, quite a divisive guy. I'm a huge fan of him. He came on this show. We had a great episode. Really enjoyed that episode. What are your thoughts on this battle and Nils in particular as a battler?
I like Nils. I think he's pretty good. I never understood why they matched him up with Ogmios. I didn't get why people wanted that battle, because when you do that, the best thing about Og, I've raved about it a few times, even though he's not on this card at all in this episode. When you do that, someone like his style is a bit nullified and just isn't as powerful because it's two slow guys going against each other, and you kind of need a slow style to nullify the more fast-paced stuff. It's why you watch something like Ogmios v Dialect or Nils versus, I don't know, someone else that's faster and think, oh, this is pretty good. Whereas you put like Nils against slow guys, it's not as hard-hitting. Whereas in this battle, Nils goes against Rone, and it's such a good style clash. I really, really love this battle. I think it's just a brilliant back and forth because they just play to their own styles really, really well.
And it's interesting, sort of puts a timestamp on this. I think this just took place right around the Anders Breivik massacre. And Rone says at the start, respect all the kids from your country. And fuck all the kids in your country. Go strght in with it. And, which is,
He's like, I'm not really critical.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's there's been a lot of lines crossed on World Dom 2 who's been going through it, and I think Nils, again, he's just such a crafty battler. He knows exactly how to counter, and him sort of going against the massacre, and him crossing the line, doing it too soon, and it just makes everyone see Rone a bit differently, doesn't it? Not the sort of preppy joker, bit of an asshole.
Yeah, Nils takes his attack in this battle is really, really smart, because he knows that he's not in English going to be as sophisticated as a writer necessarily as Rone is, but like he plays up to his character, and every single line he does hits in some way just because it's funny and low key and quite sort of but that style just really, really works because I feel like the crowd is kind of looking for something like that. They're looking for him to be funny, and then he is funny. So, I don't know. This is just... I think Nils, after that first round, he goes against people's expectations, and he's really, really funny. And then Rone kind of says, oh, you said I don't rebuttal, you're exactly right. And Rone in this battle is just fucking hilarious, man. Like all the stuff where he's just like all the stuff about Vikings, and you just get left behind and sit on the boat. That's just like a silly little line, but it always makes me giggle whenever I watch that battle. And also, I mean, another good stuff that another good bit from Nils is all that stuff he says. He says, "Oh, you're just jealous we're a country where people have more money and look better." Because I feel like Americans and Canadians are probably ignorant of how well off Scandinavian countries are in comparison. This is a weird little sort of nugget there, and also all the shit about how your troops left Nam in shame. The build up to that is so sick. I'm not going to go for every bar, but I mean, yeah, this is a real classic in my eyes.
Yeah, it's an awesome battle. Nils in the first, style's never been seen before, like a rebuttal from Rone. And then Rone rebuttaling that, said I don't rebuttal shit, you're exactly right. Which is, that's hard to pull off, something like that.
Yeah, and then he flips it back, he says...
Yeah.
I made you do a flip for the first time, I'm proud dad. That's sick, man.
Yeah. And he talks about how he's sort of anti-American as shit, North European and nice with cross-country skiing. White I spent the whole night doing this under a strobe light, which is sort of like the fingers in front of the eyes. I'm sure you can imagine what he was doing. I mean, he's cooking. Nils is crazy in this one.
Yeah, this is such a hard battle to call because Nils does all that, and then Rone has, in terms of like comedy, the bit where Rone's going, you're the most boring man in all of Toronto. If you were any more laid back, you would be horizontal. And whether he's happy and raged.
Have you not heard that as a joke? Like,
was he not the first though?
I'd heard it at school. I just heard it as sort of like a. It sounds almost like something Oscar Wilde would say.
Maybe it's hard though. I think Rone's best bit is his impression. Really, when he styles him, he kind of does the whole, whether he's sad or ashamed, or happy and raged, or whatever it is, Nils will react exactly the same. That's so good.
But he's like, I love how Nils flips that as well. He's like, I don't react the same to everything. When your grandma goes down on me, I'm like, this head is terrible.
That's so absurd. It just works. I don't know why. Yeah. And he goes, there never was a field as corny as you.
That is crazy. That
always cracks me up for some reason.
That is funny. That is very funny. Yeah.
It's Nils' delivery that makes this battle. It's hard to call a winner, but I do think Nils maybe edges it 2-1.
I think Nils wins, yeah, and I think he says at the start as well, which makes it all the more impressive that 6 months ago he didn't think he'd be rapping in English. And,
that's crazy.
I remember on the show as well, he was saying how how good he felt after this battle, and what a pro Nils is really, what a brilliant, intelligent dude he is, and Rone's great, but yeah, I think rightly so, Nils wins this.
Yeah, I would say 2-1 to Nils. I think maybe Rone gets the second. I think.
I think Nils' second is strong though.
The third is maybe close as well. I don't know.
It's all close. It's all very debatable.
I want to give Rone 1 because he's really funny.
Oh yeah. And we're getting to the final two battles here. Both with Don't Flop royalty. The first one is Charron versus Cruger.
You've got more King of the Dot merch than the King of the Dot shop has. I bet you go to school with a King of the Dot bag. But what's mental is inside his bag's the King of the Dot pencil case. And inside of that's a King of the Dot pencil. And when his pencil's blunt, he's even got the sharpener. Bitch, you're the only person who rocks overall print King of the Dot pajamas.
Y'all think Freddie will murk me with ease? Freddie Mercury, please. This dude is just not me. His friends call me up like we got some booze and some bomb weed. At the hotel you were sleeping and Oshea was nude with some soft cream. Like watch, Freddie got fingered. And there was no movie with Tom Green.
Kruger's one of the greatest ever, right?
Yeah, also seems a really nice guy.
Oh, lovely human being. I mean, so talented in so many ways. He's a Renaissance man.
He's one of these guys, I think I've met him at events and shit, and I'm like, oh, big fan, man. He's like, yeah, cheers. He doesn't
he's humble,
like,
man. Yeah.
He's super, like, he plays up this awkward persona, but I think he is a bit like that. He's very self-deprecating and very, very funny. And this is a classic battle.
It really is, isn't it? It really is. And, I think Kruger's first is decent. It's probably his weakest round, sort of high from Tally from South Park and that sort of stuff. Charron has a really good first, playing on the sort of Kruger dream stuff. Kruger can only get in the minds of the unconscious. If he's feasible in dreams, on the machine in Inception, it's like, talk that 2011 shit. And
I do think Charron has improved massively since this battle though as well. He's a bit shouty here, and his delivery is a bit sort of like, you know, his croquet bars and stuff and whatever.
Yeah, that was misguided.
His writing's got better, his delivery's got better. I do think he takes the first round though, you're right. I think I can't get over how young they both look as well.
I mean, I think they're both like 18, 19 or something. They're both teens in this, I'm pretty certain. Yeah.
It makes me feel old now because I suppose in 2011 sort of times when I first started watching the writing sort of stuff, so I would have been about that age as well. I was now like 25, and I'm like, Jesus, some of these World Dom 2 battles, a lot of these guys were younger than that. You know, they're in their early 20s or younger. Yeah, super talented.
Yeah, so. I mean, Arcane and PH, I think, were both the only battle where they were both over 30. I'm pretty sure that was the only one. So yeah, it was very, very crazy. Yeah, and Charron mentions the bouncer that we mentioned as well. Cruger's second is so successful. The whole King of the Dot merchandise angle with the sharpeners and King of the Dot key rings, but his parents don't even trust him with keys yet. Yeah, that's really good. Also, Cruger, I don't know if it's the second or third. Cruger has one of my favourite bars ever, where he says, he's talking about, he says, well, first of all, he says, I battled Jack Shit, someone who's never shaved, and now I battled Sharon, someone who's never shaved. He said, last time I saw him, he had a randomly placed whisker closest to an inch, growing from his chin, blowing in the wind. That is beautiful. That is so good. He does the clown kit, sort of freestyled about it, and then Sharon sort of flips that with the brown chick and that sort of idea, and then Cruger talk about Sharon talk about his music in the second, you know, the one time on Bandcamp, which is really nice. You know that Kruger's killing it here as well, because the battlers in the background, really respected guys like Marv1, Solcan, are loving it. They're pissing themselves with this stuff. And you can see Sharon's just like, he always has that sort of goneless look about him in these early battles, just like, oh, he's making fun of me. Woo. And it's just like, you feel bad for him, but at the same time, he is such a beast, Sharon. Oh my God. You just know he had the potential to just come back at you. So I know Kruger wasn't sort of sleeping on him, but I think, I mean, obviously we have to come on to the girlfriend angle is what won Kruger this battle. I mean, it's cataclysmic, right? It's one of, when I first got into Cruger, this was the first line that I was just blown away by. It's just, because what he did, you can't underplay how smart it is, because he kind of predicts what Sharon's going to do, especially in the third, which is a round where Sharon could easily win it, kind of plays on it and nullifies it by saying, you know, his superpower rebuttal sense, he has his tingling and imitates it, and and then he builds up to a punchline, and you think that is the punchline. He says, you know, he says, I'm better at rap, son. His girlfriend, you're just jealous. I have one. I ain't jealous of that one. It's just a little thing at the end of it that just makes it so much better. It's the way he delivers it and times it. The timing is out of this world. Yeah, it's one of the lines of the event easily. Easily. Yeah. Just the pacing of it is expert. And you know, carrying a fake ID that says he's younger as well. No, not that. Also, I'd also say as well, not to be harsh on any woman who gets sort of called out in a battle, but I mean, Laura Tarzi, she's not a bad-looking woman at all. I mean, like, she's a good-looking gal. So I think Crew could just use it as an angle. I don't think he was. Not that would make it any nicer anyway. But it wasn't factually accurate, even though it's not. It's not sincerely delivered. We get Sharon multing Rhyme Asylum with Miley Cyrus, which is always nice to hear. And then he talks sort of about his life and what's your life like? My Warcraft account was suspended and PS3, the network was hacked, which again is another one of those sort of 2011 bars, which, you know, most people sort of forget about. And, you know, up in the ante uncle, which I'm pretty sure Lunacy has said something like that as well. I think his Sharon was a bit slept on with some of his Rhyme Asylum bars, actually, about maybe they don't really know who Possessed is over in Canada. I only just realised as well, it's coming up 10 years since State of Lunacy, which is a crazy album. So. We're covering that soon, actually. Terminal's going to come on the show, and we're going to go through it, so that should be a really good episode. I like how Sharon ties it together at the end. How can Cruger affect me if I'm living the dream? Yeah, I thought Sharon's unlucky in this battle, man. I think he was on an upward curve here, and he started to really improve. And I think he battled Cruger at a time where Cruger was hungry and he was funny, and
It is a very, very clever matchup. I think organic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, very similar in many ways, you know, and many different, very different in many others. So we get to the final match of all these matches, an incredible matchup: Saurus versus Eurgh.
When you eat is caramelized. I bet your favorite Futurama character's fried. You got a Bubble Ray Dudley face. Cheeks like a basketball. It looks like someone entered pins. Card withdrawal. You wasted mad promo time, then accepted after all. Organic ain't a street vendor, so we can't market stalls.
After our rap, y'all will actually see how sad his life is. See, since 05, he studied every match that I did, overanalyzed it, pantomimed it in a mirror, practicing his craft in private. Heard my style, had to bite it when my peak was at its highest. Basically, the reason battles died is because of faggots like this.
That really should have went down 4 years before at WRCs. That is one of the great, you know, what ifs of battle rap in my eyes. You know, if Arc and would have went on to battle Ilmac and Saurus on that famed New York office lot, wherever that was, in some building somewhere. But you know, we get this battle. All I know is that is being advertised at the start. Saurus's mixtape. Don't Flop merch too. Unfortunately, lots of the footage is marred, as we discussed before. There's lots of images and stuff like that. Avos did the best he can. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I suppose that doesn't bother me as much for this battle because it's still good.
Yeah.
I mean, I said earlier about her being more likable. I think, I don't know the guy in real life, so he might, I don't know what he's like. He might be signed, who knows. But I do think he comes across better in these early battles as a sort of character or whatever. Like in his intro, he just comes across as really, you know, he was a likable young sort of dude, and he was really up for it. And he was, I think it was at a time where Don't Flop was still on the upward curve. And also, the Saurus says in the intro that Bat Rap's really peaking, and it was starting to really reach a peak around this time, the acapella stuff, which is, I think, adds to this event's sort of great sort of place in history almost. I feel like everybody just, it was a moment in time that won't be replicated, kind of thing. And I think, this battle's really good as well, just because on our side, I think he hit a sweet spot between his kind of Ilmac battle and his later battles where like 24/7, where he was a bit too sort of shouty maybe. I think I preferred his more laid-back approach, because I think from PH through to his DNA battle, he was really on form. I think he beat PH and I think he beat DNA, but I think this one he maybe got edged out, but he's still really, really good. I think he's still in his form sort of period here. I think maybe starts off a little bit too lethargic in the first one. He's a bit too measured.
Yeah, the first isn't great, I don't think, from him, but I think he builds as he goes on, and I think Saurus' third is too short. I do have winning just for quality of writing. But
do you? That's interesting.
Yeah,
I had Saurus 2-1 with convincingly getting the third. I think it kind of translates into crowd reaction in the first, how ours received. The Saurus comes up, he bigs himself up in the process of saying, you know, I've bankrupted bigger British battle leagues than yours. And I mean, at the time, that was a hot line, because Don't Flop wasn't at his peak yet.
Yeah.
So,
I study matches, you strike them and stab them in your face. Yet again with the 2011 references, mentioning David Guetta and Snoop. Younger fans might not remember I Just Want to Make You Sweat, but freshers in that year, that was ubiquitous, that track. It was
everywhere. Says because he kind of says he goes on about the virtues of dubstep, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he talks like, we invented dubstep, girls get off in clubs and like have sex,
sweat,
and it's like, I guess that's a punch.
I suppose, it was alright. I do always think it was a bit weird though, because a lot of early sort of two-step sort of feature garage dubsteppy stuff, when it came out, it wasn't like that at all.
Right.
It was the Americans that bastardized it and kind of turned it into a really clubby sort of mess. I mean, obviously we had a bit of that too, but it's interesting that's the route he went down, because that's not really what I think of when I think of dubstep. But
I like how Saurus calls Prince Nassim, which is quite an obscure reference as well, but not a popular boxer nowadays. You know, probably not even then.
I actually noticed down as well. Was that the second?
Start of his second, yeah.
I've put that the second is the most debatable. So I'm assuming maybe you gave that to her, and
yeah, I did. Although looking back, maybe not. Saurus has some good stuff here. I like biggest in Great Britain. That's tight. Fire.
I just think he has bigger punches, maybe. Yeah. Saurus in this round. I think Eurgh gets the third, man. Like,
oh, it does get the third. Yeah.
I think one thing I would say is maybe in the second, because Eurgh likes to reference his inanimate objects quite a lot and the everyday kind of stuff, and I'm not sure that stuff's always to my taste. I suppose it's your taste in his reference game, I suppose. And I feel like in the third, his references are just a bit more on point. And he says, you know, like, Charron's fake relationship lasted longer than your engagement did. A big fat Greek for no wedding edition. You using your girl as a prop, then she left you. You're losing automatically. That was sick as well. Yeah. And then just obviously playing the two times the age of most of those young chicks he bangs. Like, so good.
And him, like, his voice, recording his bars to learn them, heard his voice and thought, I'll take the risk, which is nice. And your hands will get stuck in your neck fat. Big fat Greek, no wedding edition.
Yeah, so good. I think also it's interesting the Saurus alludes to her being a bit unreasonable about Saurus not coming over to Don't Flop.
Yeah, not paying that insurance fee, yeah.
Maybe that was an early indicator of trouble in paradise.
Yeah, maybe so.
But Saurus's third was really short, so I think he kind of forfeited that round anyway. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really debatable battle. I think I would have Saurus 2-1 just about, but Eurgh has a claim to maybe edging the second as well.
And the judges have Saurus 4-1. Sketch Menace is actually the only person that thought took it, which is
ironic.
Yeah, very ironically. You know, and is quite magnanimous, which is good. In the post-interview, Saurus talks about how good is and how in the build-up he's trying to give the impression that he didn't rate him, of course. You know, this is World Dom 2, which is an incredible 2-day set of events. You know, I want to ask people in the comments, please let us know what are your favourite battles, what are your favourite memories, moments, lines from this event. And what do you want to see covered in the future for Classic Event Rewind? I probably want to do a URL one next. I'll probably do Summer Madness 2 with someone or other. But definitely want to do some more...
Was that the one with Lux and Calico and Hitman and John stuff like that?
That's right, yeah.
That's probably the best URL event, I'd say.
Yeah, I think pound for pound. And I think it looks like no other URL event as well. Yeah. It just like was shot on a sort of different scale. And yeah, you had like Sirius versus Charlie Clips and, you know, T-Rex versus... Yeah, so many good battles. DNA versus Ness as well, which is quite a notorious one. So yeah, we'll get into all of those in the future. But you know, appreciate you guys all listening for this as well. Please follow the show at Battle Resume. Get in touch with me, battleresume@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, you want to give back to the show, patreon.com/battle@resume. Everything on the show goes on there first. You can sort of get access, like when I'm making videos, I put little previews on there. I was asking questions, getting some dialogue on there. It's always really fun. So thank you to everyone who supports. John, your website is the best place for people to find you, is that right?
Yeah, again, jonathanrimmer.com, scotlandstandup.co.uk for Scottish Hip Hop podcasts and blogs and things. Get me at Twitter at rimmerjourno. Journal as in journalist. Yeah, those are probably the best places. I used to be on the sort of the Don't Flop forum back in the day before it was on Facebook.
Right.
And so I used to probably speak to battle fans a bit more on that sort of thing, but I don't really use the Facebook stuff as much, just because there's too much going on. Just my head can't handle it.
Fair enough, man. Well,
But yeah, if you want to hit me up, Twitter's probably the best place. And also I think there's maybe a couple. I think there's a chalked out event coming up Scotland soon. So
is that right?
I think so. Yeah. So I mean, I think last time I got to speak to people who I knew through battle stuff was probably the Don't Flop event last January, which we covered ages ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So. Yeah, other than sort of local events, I've not really been at too much for too long. So it'd be nice to sort of to chat to folk about it. If you've heard me on the pod or whatever, just
just come out like, oh yeah, I heard your recap of Don't Flop Scotland, or you know, heard your take on falling down. Yeah,
you don't want to talk to Don't Flop battlers, man. You want to talk to the real celebs like Johnny Rowan. Do you know what I mean? So you know, I'll bestow a bit of my time.
Well, you know, as always, it's been a pleasure. You know, John is normally on the show for our gesticulation show where we go through the music of the rapper Jest. We'll be doing it soon for his final album, Billy Green. But you know, recently did Dragon and Ordinary Family, Falling Down. And if you're interested in Jest as well, I did Premonitions EP and Return of the Drifter on my own. All of that stuff's on there. Put all the links to John's website down below as well. well. Go watch these battles. You know, World Dom 2 really spoiled us as fans, and I wouldn't say any of them are necessarily underviewed. They all seem to get a fair few viewings, but there's some real classics here that maybe you haven't seen for a while. You know, stuff like Kid Twist versus 360, for example. I wasn't really familiar with. Incredibly good battle. You know, Henry Bowers had great performances, all that sort of stuff. I guess finally, John, what's your favourite battle from the whole event?
Ooh, from the whole event. For me, oh god, tough. It's between Ilmac and Bender, which I think is one of the all-time greats. It's between that and oh god. On a personal level, I've always loved Cruger Charron. I always have loved Cruger
you know, those would actually be my two that I would pick as well.
Yeah, and I'd say Saurus are Pat Stame R1 and Nils v Rone.
Not D Meitz versus CL. Is that not in there or?
That's not even the. I'd say the worst battle's probably Caliente. You know.
Oh, Caliente, yeah. Shout out Caliente.
But apart, almost every battle on here, there's something about it I dig.
That's true.
It's back when I really when I first got into Dope Flop, I was really into King of the Dot as well, and I'm glad they're doing this UK thing now because it'd be good to get back into what they're doing. I think they've gone a bit too sort of, I don't know. They've got a bit too serious past couple of years, King of the Dot. I want to see them do some fun events again. But yeah.
Yeah, well, as always, man, this has been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And yeah, cheers again, John.
Yeah, speak soon, man.